fast trip because I saw him this morning running this morning in that snow. So he might have flew to there, but. Oh, on va s'installer là, I guess.
It's Cuba, Yvonne.
Oh, Cuba, okay.
So Mel, are you commuting after the meeting back to North Bay or staying in Sturgeon?
I'm staying here, yeah.
Okay.
Ouais, tu veux pas être chuche, mais même.
Ah, c'est pas beau, le highway. Qui manque? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. C'est là. Ouais.
Wait, we're all here.
Dan, on dirait que tu as du vent dans les cheveux là, parce qu'en arrière, tes cheveux. So maybe he is there and he's just outside and the wind is blowing his hair and what the hell is happening?
Wait.
Oops.
Dad, you have a fan?
One's fan for sure.
Mais pourquoi- c'est-
What the hell?
Okay, well,
We're live.
if it gets boring, we look at that and it's gonna make us laugh.
Well, if you want me to take it off, I can take it off.
No, 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 no.
That's
No,
okay. No, it doesn't matter.
comfortable, that's the main thing.
It's 6:31, Madam Mayor.
Okay,
Okay,
well-
well, thank you, Mélanie. I want to welcome everyone to our virtual council meeting. Je souhaite la bienvenue à tous pour notre réunion virtuelle par Zoom. L'agenda, are there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Aucune déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire? I see none. We do have an addendum, which was provided to all members later this afternoon.
May I have a mover and a seconder for the opening resolutions, please?
Leo?
Conseiller Lise, puis conseiller Yvon, conseiller Léo.
Et il est proposé par conseillère Lise Sénécal, appuyé par conseiller Mallette. Be it resolved that the addendum for the meeting of council held on December the 1st, 2020 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried.
It is moved. It is moved
Okay.
by Councillor Mallette and seconded by Councillor Lise Sénécal. Be it resolved that the agenda for the meeting of council held on December 1st, 2020 be adopted as presented.
Okay, I just want to highlight before proceeding to the vote for the resolution for the agenda, in our information package, we also got the third quarter variance report for the period ending September 30th. It's a budget update and it should be dealt with in an open meeting. This way, members of council do have the opportunity to receive the update, to ask if they have any questions or comments. So I would just make the recommendation that it would be brought forward to our next meeting, December 15th, under new business. Are there any objections with that? None? Proceeding with the resolution pertaining to the agenda. All in favor? Carried. On procède avec le premier comité, the first committee, General Government, Gouvernement Général, and I'll pass it to the chair, Conseillère Lise.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. J'ai deux items ce soir. Celle que moi, j'avais demandé de faire partie de l'ordre du jour, puis celui qui a été ajouté. Je vais commencer avec l'addendum. Ben, je vais commencer avec la mienne. C'est elle qui était là. C'est, puis, je peux j'ai envoyé la demande novembre le 11. La demande était pour une discussion envers les prochaines élections 2022. puis de discuter de certains changements puis discuss ward and boundary. La raison que j'ai apporté ça, je l'avais apporté à ma première fois que la première élection qu'on avait eue à Almagamé, parce que quand j'avais fait mes porte-à-porte, ça avait été apporté à mon attention, puis on avait dit à ce point-là, puis ça faisait du bon sens, on va l'essayer de même, on va voir comment ça va aller. Je me souviens pas exactement, j'ai eu 3 ou 4 élections que j'ai fait des cabales, puis à chaque cabale, c'était encore apporté. Puis la dernière élection, j'ai toutes fait les portes la dernière élection. Il n'y a pas une porte que j'ai pas manquée. Des fois, les gens n'étaient pas là, mais j'ai laissé quelque chose. Puis à chaque fois que j'avais une conversation, je dirais 90%, 95% of the time. Sorry, Christopher, I started in French and I forgot to change. It was brought up to the attention. I mean, comments such as we've been asking for it. This is not right. There's a few elections in the past that we did not have an election because it was a claim. Then when the mayor is a claim, and we don't like the councillor that is there, well, I didn't vote and blah, blah, blah. So there's all kind of reason. And I want to thank Mel for the package she sent. I think it's, and it's on the same, and when I saw that, I was, it was in the last election, obviously at some point of time, it did not pass, but they were kind of, I don't know if it's recommendation, but they call it primarily, whatever. C'était quelque chose qu'il y a des alternatives qu'on avait. Puis moi, ma demande, c'est, écoute, moi, je parle pour le quartier 1, qui est la majorité de Sturgeon et après ça, Springer Township, évidemment. Puis, je parle que moi, j'ai été dans différents secteurs. J'ai été dans le secteur numéro 1, c'est le plus que où j'ai été. Mais I also lived in sector number 3. That's the second time. I had a house on Ottawa Street, and now I have a house on Dover Court. And people are very adamant, that they would like to see 1, 2, 3, 4. I won't speak for the other 4 ward because I'm not, it's not in the core. We need to remember that my ward is 1, 2, 3, 4 is connected with Springer, Cashby, and a little bit, I think, of Field, but not much. It's at least 50% and more of the population of West Nipissing. I think it's connected to the core. Everybody have access to the core services. So I don't want to touch the other 4. I think it's somebody from those wards that need to approach that. I'm just doing what I had made a promise every time, not a promise, but I will bring it up. And I did brought it up at those times. For different reason, it was not accepted. When you look at the change that it's happening, because it's been 20 years, 1999 to 2019, it's 20 years that we've been amalgamated. There's nothing wrong in doing a change, and I don't want to change the number of councillor. I think it would be, and there's a facts, and I like all of you, I'm sure you approach people that doesn't live in your ward and want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to their councillor, and that's fair with me. That's fine with me. If somebody wants to talk about an issue in my ward, to talk to you, because there's a reality. We are working as a team. I'm talking about the word system. We should be working as a team. We should be working for the betterment of all West Nipissing. What's good for Verner is good for Sturgeon Fall or Springer or whoever that's in West Nipissing. That's the way we have to look at it. When people ask me, I can separate. When I say that, I said, well, if I got 2 calls one day that I get home and I got 2 messages, and one is in my ward and one is in ward number 4, obviously my priority would go to ward number 1 because I represent them. So that would, I think it's nothing wrong. I think it's obviously will be up to council, but my recommendation is that council support the change of ward 1, 2, 3, 4, same number of councillor, but at large. And some people I know said, well, it's going to be a lot harder to do a campaign. Well, there's a few of us around this table that did a campaign when they were at large. And I mean, if you're already there, well, the money you spend for your sign, you spend a little bit more, and you do a more open discussion, and that's a reality. And I think it's gotta make people, maybe encourage people more to run. It's got to encourage people to go to vote, because if they don't like me and they have Councillor Leo there, they will go and call Councillor Leo like they do right now. So it doesn't change much. We're not been paying much because of the number of population we have. And I will also, but my recommendation, I'm going to stick to 1, 2, 3, 4, but I would like also to bring up, and that's two separate issue, to look at the boundary, because it's not right when one side of the street is one and the second side of the street is two, and you have Vernon is one side of the street and the other. I don't think it's right. So it have to be look at it, but specifically tonight when I'm asking the council is to agree that, and I don't know, Mel, if it's what is the process for that, because it's nothing specific that I could read in what you send us to go about. I was told once that it could take up to a year to make the change, and that's why I decided to do it right now, because it's giving us 2 years. So is the time frame okay? Like, do you see anything that could jeopardize that, Mel?
No, Madam Chair, but it is a process that does require public consultation. It's if a decision is made at this table to change the ward boundaries, then it would have to go out to a public consultation, more than likely facilitated by a consultant, because it is a bit of a process. It's
Okay, the
a
boundary.
it's a big section of the Municipal Act.
Okay, the boundary, but as far as saying that 1, 2, 3, 4 will be at large, it doesn't, we're not changing the boundary.
But it's still, the electors still, sorry, Madam Chair, the electors still have a right to have a say in the process, because it's a change from what they are dealing with now.
Okay, well, it's because I didn't see it, Mel, in the package you gave us. I knew the boundary would have been, but anyways, I still requested it because it's been on the table. It's been 20 years. We have an increase in population in every ward. I mean, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, it's really well connected with the core. Using the same services. I don't think we're asking too much, the people that had approached me. And I was speaking to a few councillors around the table also that's been approached. And I don't think there's nobody around this table that somebody did not ask. So if they are, they might be. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's been on the table for the last, every time there's an election almost, that has been brought up. So that's what I'm asking tonight. And I mean, it could be a public meeting, it could be doing a letter, whatever, but that's not up to me to decide how it can be done. But I just wants to see if people will support that. And obviously, it's just a discussion. If people want it, they want it. If they don't, they don't. I did my job as a councillor, and I'm doing what I'm being asked to do, and I bring it up to your attention, and that's what I'm doing. And my wish as a taxpayer would be the same thing too. So. But so then, since I'm chairing I'm going to go around. So I'm going to ask Conseiller Diane, Conseiller Duhaime, where are you? What do you think?
Merci, Madame Présidente. You know, and it's true, it's been discussed before at length. I too, when I was doing door-to-door during elections and walking down the street, a lot of people have asked me why there were 4 wards of Sturgeon Falls and why they were not amalgamated, and that we'd still have 4 representatives, but they would, you know, the people in the immediate area would be allowed to speak to any one of those representatives. And everything you said is true, Madam Chair.
Oh, I don't have a position.
So I you know, it's and it's right here, it's written here, is how to best serve the people of West Nipissing in terms of representation. So I wouldn't have any problems in amalgamating the 1 to 4, and it's just my point of view, and it's true. I've been approached on it. I've been asked many a times about it, and I honestly have to say that I wouldn't disagree with it. You know, maybe it opened the door to many others who would want to run for office. So I certainly wouldn't have any problem with that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Conseiller Fisher.
So my view
Pardon me?
in the rural area, and I do see some problems in the numbers over time of the number of constituents in each ward. But the biggest problem is really Ward 7 because there's only 956 people in Ward 7, where for a councillor to on a numbers side, for a councillor you need more like 1,480 or something is the average. So that's the same with 5, 6, and 7. There's less people, and it needs a boundary change. But I don't think without a councillor from Ward 7 that should happen. As far as the downtown 4, 1 to 4, I'm somewhat indifferent because that's a different world to me. Thank you.
OK, conseiller Larrabee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I don't see the system broken. I think it's working fine. Like you stated, if one resident has a problem with one councillor, they could always go to another councillor as to get the response. So I don't see it. I don't see the system broken. So I say let's leave it as is. Thank you.
Conseiller Mallette.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes. Well, I agree to disagree, Madam Chair. I know, like, people in Cache Bay, like Cache Bay is part of my ward, and they say, well, if we go to somebody else, and in Sturgeon, we'll never get a say. But if we want to make changes, I would recommend get a consultant and maybe get the politics out of it and get residents from each ward to create a committee and make a recommendation to council and remove the politics out of it. That's my recommendation.
OK, can I rephrase that, Conseiller Leo, to make sure? So what you in a way, you're recommending it, but by a consultant that every ward they make, who's making the consultant would make a committee and then they would bring it back to council.
Yeah, to make a recommendation to council, and then have a resident from each ward, because I mean we're changing the boundaries everywhere anyway. Not 5, 6, 7, 8, but still they would have a say, and then there'll be no politics, just them, and then make a recommendation to council.
Oh, I don't have a problem as long as it's on the table. And to come back to Conseil Larrabee, yes, it can go to somebody else. But I mean, I stated that a lot of people said that they did not vote because they don't like the councillor that was running there. So, and they choose not to vote, obviously, but that would probably increase maybe, and maybe not. We don't know if we're not doing it. But thank you, Conseiller Mallette. So I don't know how we're going to proceed with that after, but Conseiller Dan, I think you're next.
Yes, I'm next. I think that if we're going to look at just the core, that's not right. I think the thing is if you're going to look at, you said yourself, it's been since 20 years. I think we should look at all of the whole area, the whole West Nipissing, because the thing is although you say that people want to amalgamate 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've heard other people say the contrary. They say that they like having a specific person for a specific geographic area that they can go to and talk to and get them to work on their behalf. So I tend to agree with Councillor Fisher, Larrabee, and Mallette that this is a bigger issue than just trying to force through the amalgamation of the core 4. I don't like that because the thing is what you're doing is you're not looking and you're not addressing the other issues. Because look at it from the perspective, if you've got one representative working after Verner, which is only 967 votes, and I'm responsible for, as part of the 4, responsible for 6,500 votes, people to service, it's not right. So the thing is, we have to look at it from a whole perspective. And I would probably agree with what Councillor Mallette proposed, that if we do anything, that we leave it apolitical and that we let a consultant do it for us and come back with recommendations.
Right. And
on top of that, I have a problem discussing this without having a rep from Vernon.
Okay, well, then somebody can reply that it's our making. It's not their fault. It's making because we could have an election, but we're not open to that. Councillor Dunn, you made the
Sorry.
comment.
Call of order. You made a comment. You made a comment that we can have an election. Yes, you can have an election. However, you can have an appointment too. So don't get muddy the waters.
No, but don't talk about it and I won't get muddy. You're the one that brought it up. But anyways, I respect your comment. And I want to say that when I said that, I said in my opening remark that I would like to see 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7 get together also, and it gave a chance. But I mean, I don't want to speak for resident. I'm speaking for my resident that what they ask. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's not only the core, it's people of Spring Township at the lake that I was approached. It's people from the one that's, well, I'm surrounded with Spring Township.
Madam
So,
Chair, you're supposed
yes.
you're supposed
Yeah, I
to-
know, but listen, yes, I am chairing and I'm just giving clarification, Conseiller Dan, because I'm the one that brought it up. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Councillor Denis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it's an issue of just having unbound the 1 to 4, I have no issue with that. It doesn't matter if there's boundaries or not. You have 4 councillors in that area. They represent the people of that area. I don't think they're calling Dan or they're calling Lee's or specifically. If there's a problem, they call whoever they want out of the 4. They're being served by the 4, so I don't see why a boundary is necessary. But for us in the outlying areas, I'm satisfied with my ward, and I think maybe the other guys want to tweak their wards. Well, I guess it would be time then. But I thought we were going to discuss only 1 to 4 here. So and Werner could always expand a little bit to get more residents. Maybe, I don't know, it would be discussion with Rowley, I guess, for Kirkpatrick or whatever. So I'm in favor of removing the boundaries for 1 to 4. But I don't feel that we should be touching the rest for now. Thank you.
Okay, then, merci, Conseiller Sénécal. Madame la mairesse.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. I read the report that was very detailed by Mélanie, and one of the initiating comments at the beginning is that there should be a review of boundaries and wards after a certain amount of years, and we're already year 21. And I've heard many occurrences where you have Ward 1, 2, 3, 4 people residing in Sturgeon, that they're saying that they have 4 representatives and that they should be allowed to vote for all 4. And one of the key comments in this report is that ward system should organize individuals according to common interest and common needs and should not divide a community. That being said, by doing this exercise, by amalgamating 1, 2, 3, 4, there's also definitely some tweaking for boundaries. I don't think residents of River Valley would appreciate to be part of a ward that would be outside their community or vice versa. We talk about the numbers for Werner. The reason why the number is so low, you have many residents of Werner that live in the outlying area and close to Werner, and I can give you specific examples, comme le chemin Saint-Amour. You have roads that are divided where one side of the neighbors and the other side of the road or the street is divided amongst 2 wards, but the people residing on that one road or that one street have the same needs and they have similar interest. So they shouldn't be divided by one of those lines. And I've always stated, and I've been stating in the last few years, and people have been clearly articulating that. If your address is Sturgeon Falls, you should belong to a Sturgeon Falls ward and not to a ward of any other communities. You've got that also occurring in Sturgeon, where you have residents of Sturgeon belonging to Field. You have people that are between Verner and Lavigne, and they belong to Ward River Valley. And people they want that sense of belonging. And I think we owe it to them. It's not about us. It's about them and making sure that they're at peace with the location, the ward that they're in, and that also it represents not just, their home address, but for some people, they feel that they've been divided from their community because of these boundaries. So once and for all, and I think the message has been strong, people believe, and they've been recommending, and there's been a lot of voices that in Sturgeon, they want to be combined. And they want to be able to vote not just for one representative, but for a total of 4. The outline, boundaries, there's some boundary tweaking, and it would be interesting to see the actual numbers after. So after reading this, I would definitely support that our clerk does a little bit more research on the process and that we get a report that comes back to council. And I did have a question, Madam Chair. What would be the timeline for a bylaw to be adopted for any changes whatsoever? Do we have a cutoff date that we need to adhere?
I think I see Jay shaking his head, so I guess he's got an answer. Jay?
You have to get ministerial approval by the end of next year and the year before an election year. So you can drill backwards from the time that you'd have to send it off to the ministry and make sure that you have. So I would suggest that an answer when we've presented this in the past, it should be by early fall, September-ish, and then send it in to get ready. So there'd be that. I think that if you're asking Melanie for more procedures, I think she's given you the procedures. I think what you need to look at, from what I understand listening, is that you have from wards 1 to 4 some consensus, except for Cache Bay, which could be problematic for those residents. They're not as homogeneous in their mind either. And then the other issues are the addressing addresses, as you believe. I'm one of those, and I don't know that that's actually going to work. In fact, if you follow that argument, the people on the other side of Deer Lake are in Warren, so maybe we should just give them back to Warren. So I think postal addresses are not, we go right up to Badgerow with Verner, right around the corner with Verner. And so I think that becomes problematic. But I think the recommendation to maybe strike a subcommittee or come back with a process that council can agree to very early in the new year to study the issue, all issues, including amalgamation awards and delineation awards, could come back to council early in January with a recommendation for a process.
Okay, thank you, Jay. So Councillor Fisher has up for a while now. So thanks for your patience, Councillor Fisher.
I just have a comment. So actually, I tell residents, and there's a few in my ward where I cut half of the street. So Gulf Coast Road would be an example. And I tell those residents they're actually quite lucky, because if they have a problem, go speak to their neighbor across the street. And Dan and I on a place like Gulf Coast Road, we've been together to residents' houses to discuss problems. So in fact, there is a bit of an advantage to being on one of those streets that is aligned, because in fact you can get double the service. So just a point.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Madam Mayor, another comment?
Well, you know what? All residents of West Nipissing have an advantage because they have a council of 9 members. Right now, we have a vacant seat, so it's a total of 8. So what they can do is they can reach out to anyone if we were to use that argument. But I just want to state on record that I do know when I talk about Verner, I talk to the regarding the former Caldwell Incorporated Township, where that community has been divided severely, and that's why the numbers are so low.
Okay, so now I guess the first thing I'm gonna go is because my request was to have council agree to 1, 2, 3, 4, and I stated my reason behind it, and so that's the first thing that it seemed that it's not. They will be 4, 4. They're completely divided on that. So that's 4 and 4. But there's other thing that's been put on the table and even suggested by Jay, that maybe we should look at it and maybe consultation, because it's been 20 years, and look at the whole system, because there is flaw in the whole system. And if we do change, then we can agree to do the change at the same time. So, and again, my purpose was not trying to cut down the number of counselors, because I think we had enough to look at it without cutting. That was not the purpose. Okay. So as people will be in favor for Melanie to get information and to see maybe kind of a price or what it would be costing, and if it's feasible, Melanie, to do that in the first few months of the new year, to do consultation before, I think Jay mentioned July, August.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are we, the first thing we would want to do is to pass a resolution to actually agree to conduct a ward boundary review. I think that would be the first step, and then we would have a document, a stepping off document to go forward and start looking into what the process is, whether we do a micro process or a big macro process. The process, from what I've read, takes about 3 to 6 months, the consultation. Hopefully next year we'll be able to do consultation. Yeah, as our CAO said, we want to get charging forward sooner rather than later.
Correct. And if I might add, if we go with that, if whatever there's COVID or something like that, there could be kind of a letter sent to resident and their tax bill to see if they would approve too. That would be one way to see, show if people is in agreement with that.
I'm sure that consultants
Yeah.
have ways and means.
Yeah. Okay, so who else? So are we in agreement maybe that it's time to revise the whole shebang because it's 20 years, and that we hire somebody that is neutral, that will do the process for us and come back with recommendation? Okay, I got Rowley and Rowley, Conseiller Denis, and Conseiller Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As was stated before, I'm totally opposed to this because we don't have a representative of Ward 7. So until everybody's at the table, I don't think we should be discussing this. Thank you.
And Conseiller Denis, you had your hand raised?
Yes, I did, but anyways, Verner's gonna have their say just as much as anybody else. If we decide to go the consultant route, it's not going to be done fast, and Verner will have as much opportunity to discuss it with the consultants, and I don't see why we should. That otherwise we delay till the next election, which is not our purpose right now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Conseiller Denis. Then, so anybody else want to comment? And Conseiller Fisher.
So, I mean, I do have the concern about Verner, but the other thing is nobody's mentioned, like, is this a $10,000 consultation or is it a $100,000 consultation? Like, what order of magnitude are we talking about? I think we need to understand that before we go charging off and asking for
And that's a good point, Councillor Fisher, but I think Mel has mentioned that the first thing for us to do is to have a resolution to look into it. And when it comes to that, she will provide us with that answer. But right now, what we're looking tonight is direction to give to staff if we want to, after 20 years, to look at the whole ward system and come back, and that will be answered when we go, and obviously before we make a decision, Councillor Fisher. Okay. So I'm going back with the question. So I'm starting with Yvonne. Are you in an agreement to do the resolution to look into it and see to how far we gotta get? That's I guess what the question is. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mel. I think that's the first step.
That's correct.
Okay, so you're in agreement with that? Then you.
Yes, I
we
am.
gotta go. I'm gonna go, Conseiller Larrabee. I'm gonna go around. I'm with Conseiller Duhaime, and the next one is Conseiller Fisher. Do you agree to a resolution that we pass, and after that, no? Okay, and Conseiller Larrabee, your turn. You said, what did you say? You had something before you say no or yes?
I'm saying no. I think we should know the price of the car before buying it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, again, Mel, could you explain what you just said so they can understand that you're not spending anything? You need that to even have a price to buy the car. So, Mel, we cannot hear you.
No, I know, I was just saying
Okay.
that we don't, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah,
We just need a resolution that at least council is in agreement to investigate before we could even approach a consultant to get obviously, if it's terribly expensive or not doable, then council obviously has the choice to rescind that decision. But you know, as a something to give them to say, hey, we'd like you to look into this.
okay, so Rolly, Conseiller Rolly, are you sticking with your decision, no?
Yes, I'm sticking with my decision.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so then after you, because I don't have my paper in front of me, I think it's Conseiller Mallette.
Yes, well, I say no right now. I'll tell you the reason, Madam Chair, is a lot of people, some of the people that will live in my ward, and they're afraid of being no voice for their area. So I say right now, I say no.
Okay, but you're the one that first proposed that we look into it,
Yeah.
but that's okay. Conseiller Léo, Conseiller Dan now?
I tend to say no also, and the reason is, again, I'm going to come back to the fact I don't feel comfortable making decisions when there's nobody sitting, and for the not the municipality, for the ward that represents Vernon.
Conseiller Denis?
Well, if I think we're all representing Verner, so they're lucky they have 8 councillors representing Verner. So, but my answer is yes. Let's look into it.
Okay, and I'll well, obviously, Madame la Mairesse, because I'll be the last one to.
I would support the resolution. In fairness, I want to keep the politics out of it. And I think if we have an opportunity to have an independent individual work with the ad hoc committee, I think that would be a long-term positive vision for all of West Nipissing.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse, and I'm going to say yes, and for the simple reason that I found it seems to me that the excuse that it's not fair to do it when we don't have a councillor sitting at the table. We make decision every council meeting without Ward 8 to be representative and doing a research or something like that. They would be involved to the survey or whatever. So I say yes, and it's 4x4. So now it's dead for the next 2 years, and to the next council to bring it on. Okay, so I'm going to the second one, which was an addendum, which is the COVID-19 resilience l'infrastructure des fonds pour l'infrastructure. Puis, on a tout reçu le mémo. Puis, en gros, ils ont passé, puis ils ont donné à louer le fédéral, Northern Ontario, community across Northern Ontario are eligible for funding, including $0.99 million for the city of Greater Sudbury and over $500,000 for municipality in Nickel Belts. And West Nipissing is getting is allowed to apply for 203,572. Comment tu dis ça? 203 572 $ qu'on est éligible pour des fonds. Alors, je ne sais pas si c'est toi, Jay, ou je ne sais pas. Alicia est ici, je ne vois pas son nom. Fait que,
Oui. Ça va être Elisa qui a les détails. So Elisa has the details. I'll just say, and I'm sure she'll repeat it, that this, the way this has been rolled out is never, we've never seen it before. People were talking about this without us getting any information for the last 3 weeks. Was it a grant? Was it not? Is 100,000 an automatic gift? Anything more you have to apply for? So at this point, there are more questions than answers, and I'll pass it on to Elisa to expand.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi, all. So yeah, as Jay said, I mean, this program, you know, has been coming for a while, but everything that's been available has just been said, you know, details to follow, details to follow, details to follow. So this letter that we received on Monday, dated November 25th, was actually our first formal notification of the funding. We fall into a category where we can apply for up to 2 projects to use that 203, and so our application deadline can be December 21st or January 7th. The general guidelines so far are retrofits and repairs to facilities, COVID-related infrastructure, so to get separation, physical distancing, safety retrofits, active transportation, so bike lanes, multi-use paths, parks, and things like that, and disaster mitigation. And for some of those categories, we need to be able to make the link between what project we're applying for and how it actually impacts or how it affects our response to the pandemic or economic recovery from the pandemic. So, and there's you know, a lot of other things as far as joint projects and things like that we don't typically get into. So looking at that kind of funding envelope and looking at the work that we have and things that sort of fit into that project, and it's going to be a fairly tight turnaround when things are said and done, I expect. So the projects must be started by September of next year. They must be finished by December of next year, and they can't get started until the federal government approves the projects that get submitted and reviewed by the province first. So there's a long review process at the beginning of these projects. And you know, my experience has been with these joint ventures that they take a long time to get approval. But that's what the timelines are on this project. All of that for the background, looking at 203 and looking at COVID response and looking.
You're off, Alicia, sorry.
Sorry, I saw that. Or things that are nearly ready to go. The discussion came up around HVAC units on are not to do completely redo HVAC, because that would, you know, exceed the 203, but that we have the potential capabilities, and because we've had those facility studies done over the last couple of years, we've got some of that lifespan and rough costing on HVAC. There is still some information that's supposed to be coming this Thursday regarding this program and the application and how the process works. And so after Thursday, may have some more or better direction on this application and how this process is going to work. And that's what we are thinking right now, though, is that potentially those HVAC projects, because we do have systems that are close to end of life, and it certainly does support the a pandemic response to have better circulation of air in our facilities. That's all I have for you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so your recommendation, if I hear you, would be to apply for it, but towards going to HVAC.
That's what we're looking right now, pending again sort of Thursday's information and Thursday's webinar, if there's something earth-shattering or that we've misinterpreted everything that we've got so far. But that's what we are advising at this point. Yes.
Okay, so I'll go around and I'll go start with conseiller Duhaime. Est-ce que tu as des questions? On ne t'attend pas, Yvon. Conseiller Yvon.
From what I understood from Alyssa, that Alyssa said she's looking for more details to probably get a conclusive idea as to what is involved in applying. And I agree with that. I mean, we do have to know where we're going with this. And the HVAC is problematic. There's a problem for our buildings. That's obvious. But I do have other projects that I'd like to see get off the ground. But I think having to see where and how we apply and how it really works is what the first thing has to be done, and that would be something that Alyssa would get information from. But no, whatever is there, maybe I agree. Maybe we should really look at something to utilize what's being given. As we're in partnership with it, and I'd certainly have no problem in spending the money in a good way. But we'd have to put our share in it too. But anyway, thank you, Madam Chair.
Merci, conseiller Duhaime. Conseiller Fisher.
So yeah, I support what Alyssa was saying. Just as a point of clarification, did you say that it's 2 projects? We're only allowed 2 projects under this thing, or did I misunderstand that?
Yeah. So if I can clarify, we can have up to 2 projects. So we can have it all in one project, or we could break it down and do two projects that fit into these categories that are sort of thing. So we can't do 15 little things that are completely, separate from each other, but we can do like sort of one big project or 2 in between projects. And if I just wanted to also clarify while I have a moment as well, is that the federal government's kicking in 80%, the province is kicking in 20%. So it's none of it's on the taxpayer. It's all funded projects.
It's all funded, yeah. Oh, I thought they were, okay.
Okay. Conseiller Fisher, are you okay with that? Conseiller Larrabee?
No comment at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. Conseiller Mallette?
No, I'm okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Conseiller Revida?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Alyssa, this is a 80-20 split, 80 for the feds, 20 for the province, no cost to us. The money and the project has to be finished by December 2021. So if we have an issue with our HVAC, and HVAC is an important element in this whole spread of COVID, and we know that, some companies and dentists have set up individual HVAC systems for each office. So we know that it's something that's important. So it would most likely would qualify. But if you get something new on Thursday on that webinar that seems to be something that we could use also, I would really like you to let us know. But initially, what your comment is it's good. It's HVAC is, it's the air that you people breathe. So the thing is it makes a lot of sense. So thank you.
Okay, Conseiller Denis?
Yes, I agree with the continuing with this. Maybe Thursday we'll have more information, but I'd like maybe to have a little list of possible projects and not just the HVAC. I think we all have little projects that we would like to see, so maybe a little list that could be applied to this, to one of our projects instead of all the HVAC.
I think
That's all I'm asking. Yes.
I think you. I hope there isn't a misconception that the projects have to be COVID related and not just some general stuff that we can use to spend. I don't know. I'm sure I know that Alyssa went, but I can't put a finer point. So when they were prepping for this, staff did an analysis of what they can potentially do for that amount of money. So there isn't a matter of a wish list so much here because it's very specific to COVID. Am I not? Am I right on that, Elisa?
So it is very specific to COVID, but they do have categories for, disaster mitigation if we were doing anything, and that's not ever been a discussion this council has had. But yeah, the guidelines appear to be very tight, and so it's not that it's not streetlights or sidewalks. It's not any of that stuff that we usually spend money on. It is very facility specific.
Okay, thank you, Alicia. All I want is more information, more detailed information before I make a decision. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Madame la Mairesse?
I appreciate the update. I concur. It's very different being told, okay, this is the amount of grant that you can get, but we didn't apply for it. And on top of it, they want us to submit the project for the value of $203,000. It also makes reference, to recreational use for COVID resilience to keep people active. If there's any opportunities that we can attribute also the funding towards an initiative that would help our residents to remain active throughout this difficult time throughout COVID, that would be also an enhancement. I know that we have a lot of playgrounds, and I know for quite a while I've been seeing a lot of photos that have been surfacing for equipment, even for seniors, for in playgrounds that they can enjoy with use. So I just would hope that not only HVAC, but that we can also be creative and other options that we can look into. That would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, so I would support that, obviously, that we apply for it. It's 100% funded. So Alicia, you mentioned, so Summer, you're going to have a webinar, how do you say it?
Webinar.
Okay, it's close enough, right? You knew what I meant. So you're going to be participating in one next week?
It's later this week. If I can just clarify again about the project. So yes, the absolutely the COVID, and as far as keeping people active has been is a part of this. However, playgrounds at this point don't appear that they will fit into it. It does identify trails and things like that, but other than that, it needs to be things inside a building or attached to a building, not outside of a building, unless it's trails. That's my understanding at this time. We did talk about other things within our recreational complexes that might fit in, but the complexity of some of them might be beyond what we can do in the time frame that we have and with the dollars that we have here. But we're not ruling those out absolutely, but it just, we had looked at some of those other things within the facilities that might assist, or we get into that problem where we are bundling too many little things and we don't have the ability to bundle all these small projects into a single project.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Subsequent question. So are we going to be provided with a recommendation for our next council meeting on the 15th on how to proceed with what project for 203,000?
Yeah, absolutely, we can do that. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So so what the consensus seems to be is everybody's in agreement that Alicia will look into it, and that then the recommendation that is brought to next meeting, Alicia seems to be comfortable to be able to bring it back for that meeting. So that will conclude, Madame la Mairesse, this my portion of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Alice. We move on to the next committee, Economic Development Économique. There's one item on the agenda, which is enhancing cell phone services, but also combined with the issue of broadband fund. So what I'm going to ask is Councillor Rowley submitted an agenda request pertaining to cell phones. So Conseiller Rowley, would you like to explain exactly what's the item for discussion in regards to cell phones?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Thank you for, I brought this to the attention because there are many areas in West Nipissing that under service, and through MaxCity and the federal government, they have funds to help companies to provide service under the Connecting All Canadians and High-Speed Internet and Cell exhibition. I'm asking staff to invite service providers who are interested in providing services to outlying areas. And this, through the direction of MaxCity, this is the way to proceed. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure about the funding for cell coverage, you know, for our Northern Ontario, but that could be an issue that staff can research. I do know that our MPP, our MP, Member of Parliament, has shared with municipalities within his riding that there are still areas, boundaries within municipalities that don't have the cell coverage. And I think we're cognitive that we do have areas in West Nipissing that the cell doesn't cover adequately and doesn't, there's no service. And one of the recommendations of the MP was to call the two common service providers that are within our boundaries, I believe TELUS and Rogers, and get them to do a delegation, a presentation to council, so council can ask, make them aware of the areas that are not being serviced and ask them what are they going to do for us. So I'm going to do a roundtable in regards to that. Conseiller Yvon?
This is thank you, Madame Mayor. This is a subject matter that's been brought up all the time, ever so often, and I, you know, I'm very hopeful that, and I agree with Rolly, things have to be done in this area in order to you know, so that people can utilize whatever they have with respect to whether it be a phone or electronics. And every provincial or federal elections, they always mention that we should, you know, extend to the boundaries of the, so that the people can receive this service. And I agree, whatever we can do in order to do that, I agree that as a council, that we should look into this and work on it to see that it is done. And whatever it takes to do it, I'd be willing to sit down and speak to whomever and get something done and see whether or not the funding is there. And then we get adequate funding to, and once and for all, get this done. So that's my.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're going to treat both, we're going to treat cell coverage and the internet funding separately because they're two different programs. But as far as I do know, presently there's no funding for cell for Northern Ontario communities. That was confirmed by our MP and I confirmed it yesterday. It's pour des régions indigènes ou qui ont absolument pas de téléphone cellulaire. Le programme est pour rencontrer un certain groupe spécifique et s'applique pas dans le Nipissing West, but it's up to us to be proactive. So do you agree that we get a delegation that we submit a request for delegation to both service providers that they come to council? Conseiller Leo?
Yes, I agree with Councillor Rowley to go further with it.
Okay. Councillor Chris?
I think there is actually, I realize that there are two different items and I support connectivity in both, but there are press releases that say broadband and cell, and Ontario government committed $6 billion over the next 6 years, and that's a broadband and cellular action plan. I can say I'm right at the edge of cell coverage here. As soon as I turn and drive to River Valley, we're out of cell coverage, and for safety and emergency reasons, cell coverage is it's really needed up here. So I support it fully.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Chris. Conseiller Dan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would suggest not only that we ask for delegation from TELUS and Rogers, as you stated, for broadband, based on what Councillor Chris just told us. The province is floating money around for cell coverage. And I think that what we should be doing is have it separately, have a request that the providers for cell providers in our area have a delegation and, come in and tell us how they're going to provide us services for River Valley and for parts of Denise area. So I think it can be done both. I think it can be done parallel. And I think it would be to an advantage of everybody. Let's get this done. I think, the people of River Valley have been very patient. And like Chris says, we do, Cynthia and I do biking. And as soon as we get past Chris's, there's no coverage whatsoever with our phone. And it doesn't make sense. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Conseiller Denis? You're on mute, Conseiller Denis.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm in agreement that we get somebody to come and talk to us, but I want to make sure that it's not only Rogers and TELUS. I mean, over here, we need to talk to Xtornet, Net Spectrum, and all these other little outfits. I don't know if they're subsidiary of Bell or Rogers, but we got to make sure these guys are at the table because they're the providers around here. It's not Rogers and TELUS are mostly for cell phones up there, I guess. But for us, internet is basically Xtornet, Net Spectrum, and I'm not sure who else. So we got to make these guys come to the table too.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we get a list of everybody that's involved.
Yeah, Conseiller Denis, we're going to move on to the internet portion right after. Right now, we're just dealing with the cell phone coverage. So
Okay,
I wanted to keep it separate because it's two different services, and there's funding for one and not sure if there's funding for the other. So that's why I kept it separate.
Okay, well, my request would apply to cell phones also. I don't know who's the provider around here.
Okay.
I think we're pretty well settled with cell phones, but I'm not sure. I'll have to
Okay.
look down North Bonnettville.
Perfect.
Okay.
Conseiller Alice?
Well, I surely agree that both the cell phone and internet have to be looked into it right now. Whatever that's proposed here tonight, it's for internet only. I think when we're talking about service provider, that's include everybody that can offer services under any name that they might have. And it's right, there's just not Bell or just Eastlink. There's there's a whole bunch. Obviously, under Bell, there's a lot of small company that they operate with the lines of Bell and the lines of whatever, but we need to have a list and ask. And yes, I don't have a problem doing two different separation because right now the money available is for the internet, and we have to put a little bit of pressure and ask the people that serve us for the cell phone in our region to be also giving us an update what they're going to do, like Councillor Rowley said, Councillor Denis, that what are they going to do to provide services for all residents of West Nipissing?
Okay, so is it fair to say that we asked staff to verify if there is funding for cell coverage, for expansion of cell coverage for Northern Ontario communities? That would be one thing, because I know there's none available presently at the federal level. And either way, since these companies have been stating that, yes, they cover all of our boundaries, and we know that we have boundaries that are not covered, that we invite them to do a delegation to council.
Yeah.
So we can let them know we have a problem and we want that problem to be fixed, and what can you do to fix it? And I think that's priority for the cell phones right now. We all agree to that? Okay, and you're okay with that, Conseiller Rowley?
Yes, definitely. But when I did speak with our representative, Max Serré, he did tell me that, yes, he did have some funds for the cell phone.
Okay, but staff
And
will verify.
I spoke.
Okay, but like I say.
But I did speak with him as soon as he came out.
Okay, because.
As soon as he came out with the news. I was
Okay, We'll get staff to
And
verify.
another
We'll
thing too,
get,
if I can, please, I also want to make sure that it's for, not only for Ward 6, but all of West Nipissing, like Councillor Lee said, every resident needs that service. Thank you.
that's right. And that's what we're looking at. Now, the other part has to do with the internet funding that is presently available to companies to be able to address the gaps or to address the households that either don't have high-speed internet or that they have a big problem with high-speed internet. Now, there's two portfolios. One of them you may have heard is the Universal Broadband Funding, which is being led by Blue Sky. They're applying they've submitted applications for a large amount of monies, one for North Bay and the eastern region of the city of North Bay. The other one is for Sudbury East, including West Nipissing. Now, that's to service on a regional level. But in the interim, the federal government made the announcement of being able to address immediate needs where there's immediate gaps, and it's called the Rapid Response Stream Funding. And that's only for companies, not for municipalities. And there's a deadline date, of course, and the deadline is January 15th to apply for the funding. It could be up to $5 million per project. And the whole objective is to be able to service a specific area which people have a problem in having high speed or having suitable high speed internet. Now, our role as elected officials, we have a lot of internet companies that service households within West Nipissing. And as elected officials, we're also often informed by our citizens of problems they're experiencing with the internet. So our job is to promote the fact to these companies of problem areas, and that hopefully they do submit an application to be able to help. And there's been dialogue with our Director of Community Services in EGDEV. The issue was brought up to the EGDEV Authority Committee. And basically, your help is all needed to be able to share, advocate, and find out where those gaps are. And as an example, I know that at the end of Canal, the fiber optic stops at Champagne. Anyone that is beyond that region, some people are still on dial-up and don't even have access to high speed. So by communicating with Bell, they're going to go out and they're going to do an engineering to find out if it's worthwhile to apply for the rapid response and see if they're going to be able to input the infrastructure to service those residents. But there's probably more areas like that in West Nipissing. So I'm just going to ask Steph, do you have any additional information that you can provide pertaining to the rapid response stream funding?
So I have been in discussion with Susan Church at Blue Sky Net to gain a better understanding of what they're working on. And also I requested that they send me contacts for all broadband service providers for our area, which they have done. I have those contacts, and what I'm planning to do is in the very near future, because the deadline for application under this program is January 15th, I believe. So there's some urgency there. And because these applications are for the private sector to submit, I will be touching base with all the service providers in our area to make sure that they're aware of this rapid response program, and B, to also have discussion pertaining to if they're looking at potentially submitting a program, an application for funding to help our underserviced area in our community. So I'll be doing that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so any comments or questions? Yvonne, no?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Councillor Chris?
So I mean, I'll just make the general comment that this is kind of more urgent than it used to be. Like, you know, I got 3 kids at home that are homeschooling, and when there's 3 video conferences going on simultaneously, it's rough. We haven't got that kind of infrastructure on here. In fact, like for me to be on this video conference, kids all get read the riot act. You can't be on YouTube. You can't be doing this because we have like one thing only at a time internet appears. So it's urgent. Thank you.
Conseiller Broley?
Yes, like Councillor Chris just said, it is very imperative that we do get better service than what we have now. The funds are there. We just need to entice the companies to ask our MPs, and they will upgrade. They do have the funds for it. Thank you.
Conseiller Leo?
Yes, I agree with Steph's recommendation.
Conseiller Dan?
Yeah, good work, Stefan. Thanks.
Conseiller Denis?
I agree. Let's move on and apply.
Conseiller Ali?
Well, the same thing, if there's fund available, and I mean, there's more than a couple of places in West Nipissing that they don't have access. I go camping sometime at Tomeko and I got a bell. I'm okay this year, but a few years ago, a bell did not work. Roger was working. So yeah, let's look at it and for both. And that's what we have decided tonight to go for. So let's go for it. I'm in support of that.
Conseiller Chris? Councillor
Yeah,
Cruz?
so sorry, this is a follow-up because these raise an interesting point. So it seems to me everywhere else in the world, Bell and Rogers, they share towers and you can roam. And I've never quite understood why up in this area, a Rogers phone works fine, but a Bell phone does not. So does anyone know the answer to that? And can we find out like why one provider works in certain places? It doesn't make sense to me. It's not what I've seen living other places. Thank you.
Okay. And that's the reason why it's proposed that we get a delegation from those service providers so we can find out, A, they know that they are made aware that we have a problem, and B, that we find out what they can do for us. And that was the recommendation of our MP, to communicate with the service providers, and council should take the time to speak with these people. So that information has been clearly endorsed by all members. For the rapid response stream funding, we can cry as much as we want to that we have some problematic areas, but members of council, we need to work as a team in defining the gap and identifying which companies would be interested in submitting in doing infrastructure improvement, and then communicating this information with our director of community services, because if we reach out to companies and companies are aware that there's a gap and they want to proceed with an application for the rapid response, or that they don't, it'd be interesting to find out that information after the fact. So recommendation, if we can at least start by identifying the locations where they are problematic. There's companies that service those areas. When Stefan is calling them, at least he knows exactly how they can relate to which area and find out if they will apply or not apply. And we can also help out with that task. Is there an opportunity that we can advertise also the rapid response stream funding on our Facebook page, where we can disseminate and share this information with our residents?
1 4 1 6 7 0 7 2.
Okay, so someone's calling?
But I will ensure that we do post the information, Madam Mayor, on our social media and our website pertaining to the rapid response program.
Perfect. Okay, so that wraps it up for now. We move on to the next committee, Social Services and Health. Services Sociaux et Santé, and I'll pass it on to the chair, Conseiller Leo.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Mayor, sorry. And so this comes from yourself, Your Worship. So you want to speak to it? You were talking about the 102 funding for the Chateau.
Excuse, conseiller Léo, j'ai pas compris.
I'm sorry. Yes, it comes from you. You wanted to speak to the special funding for the 102 agreement? That came from you. The request came from you yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I did ask for the issue to be added to the agenda pour être ajouté à l'ordre du jour. I know there's been a lot of comments and a lot of questions that have been surfacing since people have been made aware that the Au Chateau would lose out on some revenues based on a specific funding program that people refer to as the 102. So I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. And the 102 funding agreement, basically it's a 35-year-old agreement that's going to be ending December 31st, 2020. The funding for that agreement was approximately $658,000 per year, and the funding was being used for the operational budget of the Au Chateau. It was quite a unique agreement that was done by the federal and the provincial government of the days. But what people also need to be aware is that the Au Chateau building is not entirely owned by Au Chateau or long-term care home facilitator. There's a portion of that building which is owned by the West Nipissing Not-for-Profit Housing. And the funding throughout the years with amalgamation of DSAB was filtered through that agency and rolled over to the municipality. And with the funding coming to an end, the municipalities that are contributing towards the levy of the Au Chateau is between West Nipissing and Temagami, and it's approximately a split of 75-25%. So if there's no additional funding secured to replace the 102 funding agreement, it will have an impact on the municipal levies, both for West Nipissing and Temagami. To no fault of no one, there's been a lot of discussions that have been taking place throughout the years. And I do know that the Au Chateau board was hoping to be able to get some type of transitional funding so it could explore other opportunities such as the redevelopment. But I think the message also, which is important for people to understand, those that are listening to the meeting and for us, is that all other funding that the Au Chateau is presently receiving, i.e. for COVID, or the funding announcement that our Premier has made that the hours of care per resident is going to be increased and that there's going to be extra dollars provided for that increase. That money will not be affected and is dedicated strictly for those purposes. So whatever funding for COVID cannot be used to subsidize the 102 funding, which is ending. It has to be used for COVID. So there's different pockets, different envelopes of monies, and those envelopes are not interchangeable. So moving forward, members of Au Chateau do know that there has been a request for a joint delegation between the municipality of West Nipissing and the municipality of Temagami to speak with the minister and to seek their support for transitional funding for the Au Chateau board to look and explore on their options pertaining to future projects, and also to a specific unique request that the municipality of Temagami has done. So in a nutshell, it was to give an overview of the 102 funding and to reassure people that other monies for other envelopes is not being used to subsidize the funding that's being lost by the 102. And the 102 funding, well, we realize the challenge, and then moving forward to seek if there's any opportunity for some type of transitional funding. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And also, a lot of people don't realize that the Chateau belongs to municipality. We're a municipal home. And it's not only the ministry that provides the funding, it's also the municipality. Because we own the Chateau between West Nipissing and Temagami. So thank you. Any comments? Councillor Lees. Lees, you're
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for the report. Well done. Yes, it is something that it's been on the radar. It's 35 year. I think we could say that we've got a bonus for the 35 year because we're the only municipal run facility that got that. And I mean, so now we have to live with that. I have confidence that both mayor from West Nipissing and Temagami will work very closely with the ministry that can try to get us some money. And as Councillor Leo was noted, yeah, I was surprised lately to see a few people say, well, I did not know how come the Haut Chateau belong to the municipality. Obviously, there's a portion that the nonprofit is but yes, it's a municipal run facility, and we should be very glad when we look across the province what's happening with COVID. Touch wood, I think the staff is extremely well managed to deal with COVID right now, and we are very lucky, and hopefully we got to keep on being that lucky to make sure our residents are safe. But let's hope that that both mayor will come up some maybe money for a few years, trying to see what we can do and work in the development. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the thing is that what we have to realize is that this has been bonus money for us, and that the thing is that we know for a fact that failing that, because I know that there was other pressures put upon the Minister of Health, Long-Term Care, to find some transition money, and it went on deaf ears. I know that the board from DSAB did their best, trying to find out if we could get transition money, and the doors just shut in our face. So the thing is what I would like to emphasize is that failing that we don't get the money, it is our responsibility as a municipality to find the money, because it is, as Councillor Leo said, and as Councillor Lee said, and as the mayor has said, this is our chateau. This is ours. So the thing is, we have the moral obligation. If we can't find the transition money, it's our moral obligation to come up with the money within our budget to pay for it. And I think that's basically where we have to stand.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. Councillor Lees.
Well, yes, and I agree with Councillor Dan, but it's a lot more than a moral. It's a responsibility belong to us. So it's not like we have a choice and say, no, we're not paying for Chateau tomorrow. We need to find the money, and moral is definitely in that, because I mean, we cannot lose that services, which we won't lose. I think we'll find a way, and we'll manage like we did in the past. We had the hard issue to deal in the past, and we did find the money, and so we got to do this the same again this year. So, but I mean, yes, it's a bonus, something we have, and now we have to find other ways, or we have to find the money within our budget this year. So,
okay, thank you, Councillor Chris.
So I guess my question is for staff. So I'm assuming that this item here, like the CAO of the Haut Chateau will come and say, this is my best, this is the best I can do operationally, and I need this much money. And then I assume that this is going to go into our budget, and it will go in that section like we had last year, where it's sort of immovable. Like I think we made payments to the health unit, and it was $40,000, and it's that it'll go in that category, like, sorry, guys, this is the money we've got to spend. Am I correct? This is the process, and really,
Yes.
this is a
Yes.
good item.
Yes,
thank you.
through you, Mr. Chair, yes. You know, this is one envelope of money that the Oshato has had for quite some time, and they were aware that it was going to be leaving. They have a much larger budget than that, and the administrator of the Oshato, as mentioned by Councillor Senecal, is excellent at finding ways and means of softening blows here and there, and hopefully, this is one aspect of our budget, and we have, a lot more tools in the shed, so to speak. And so we'll wait and see at budget time what that impact is. I'm actually not concerned at this point. Certainly, it is a large number, and if the mayor could be successful with her counterpart in softening the blow, that would be great. But yeah, it'll be a budget discussion, and we'll see where we stand on that.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Madam Mayor, before I'm finished, before we go to regular council, can we have a 10 minutes?
I was looking at my watch. I think we can just do planning and then adopt a resolution for a 10-minute recess.
Yep.
Okay, so we can move on to the regular portion of the meeting under planning.
Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm looking at, and I was looking for it, Octobre. May I ask why on n'a pas les déboursés pour le mois d'octobre? Ce mois-ci? C'est pas dans nos, c'est pas dans l'agenda, puis c'est pas dans nos paquets non plus.
Parce
Next-
qu'il est pas-
Non,
Next meeting.
Sorry.
You really threw me off guard. Okay, Jay?
On a des problèmes de ressources humaines comme c'est là avec des maladies, alors c'était pas disponible.
OK, merci. On va savoir. OK, c'est correct.
Can I get a mover and a seconder for the resolution, please?
Yvonne,
Russ? It is moved by Councillor Duhaime and seconded by Councillor Fisher. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2020-69, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2014-45 to rezone certain lands located on Goulard Road in Sturgeon Falls from residential 1 zone to residential 3 zone will come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Any objections? All in favor? Carried. Now, would there be a mover and a seconder for a 10-minute recess? Conseiller Alice, Conseiller Léo?
It's moved by Councillor Lee Senecal and seconded by Councillor Leo Mallette that a 10-minute recess at 8 o'clock be taken.
All in favor? Carried.
Leo?
Mm-hmm.
So just if you wanted to, do you know where your mute button is on the bottom corner or on the corner of your laptop?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
I
okay.
just, I noticed you were the only one without mute and you're and then there, right beside the mute button, there's a video, or if you hit that, you'll go black like everybody else. And then
Oh,
when you hit
okay.
it, you go back on.
Just check.
Give it a try.
Like this? Oh, okay.
There you go. And then you can
Okay.
go with the, you can do that with the mute.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
OK, so we're ready to proceed. On est prêt à continuer. On procède avec les courriers et comptes, correspondence and accounts. Is there a mover and a seconder?
Leo?
Conseiller Léo? Conseiller Chris?
It is moved by Councillor Mallette and seconded by Councillor Fisher. Be it resolved that the minutes of the meeting of council held on November the 17th, 2020 be adopted as presented.
Are there any questions? Just under D4A for community sharpens, where it says that council received a letter from DSAB. I think the letter was from the North Bay Perry Sound Health Unit. So just a clarification with that. And for D6 for Nipissing Street Water Connection, the last line, it says, council also agreed that a letter be sent to the affected residents. Point of clarification, I don't think it's the municipality that's sending a letter, eh? It's the developer?
That's correct.
Okay. So based on the recommended changes for the amendment, all in favor? Carried. A mover and a seconder for the next one, F2, to receive the minutes from the various boards. Councillor Chris. Conseiller Yvonne.
Moved by Councillor Fisher and seconded by Councillor Duhaime. Be it resolved that the minutes of the following boards and committees be received. West Nipissing Public Library Board, October 8, 2020, and the District of Nipissing Social Services Administration Board for October 28, 2020.
Any comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Adopté. We proceed with the next item on the agenda, Section H, Notice of Motion, Avis de Motion. And yes, Mélanie?
I was just going to say I have Councillor Lees having moved it. I do need a seconder for the motion.
Okay. Is there a seconder for the notice of motion? Conseiller Yvonne?
It is moved by Councillor Lee Senecal and seconded by Councillor Duhaime. Whereas on November 19th, 2019, a request made by Councillor Chris Fisher to amend the procedural bylaw, which included a move from 3 meetings a month to 2 meetings a month. And whereas in November 2019, as per directive by council to staff, we received a memo from our CAO providing the information requested and his recommendation, which was to have 2 combined meetings from 3 to 2 meetings per month. Whereas in November 2019, council amended its procedural bylaw to decrease the monthly meetings from 3 to 2 meetings per month. Whereas since November 2019, council has frequently required to adopt a resolution to extend its curfew beyond 9:30 p.m. Whereas special meetings were canceled due to lack of quorum. Therefore, I, Councillor Lee Senecal, am requesting to reinstate 3 meetings per month.
Okay. Now, is there any additional information pertaining to this motion, Conseiller Lees, that you would like to share? You're on mute, Conseiller Lees.
I said, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I have some comments, and thank you, Mel, for reading the motion for me. I know it's a very, I just want to say it the right way. It's not an easy motion to discuss. It's not a very popular request, let's just say, but I had to bring it up for a different reason, which I stated on the request, but also that, I mean, we've been the telephone, we've been doing Zooms and COVID, and those are the things that we cannot control. I understand that perfectly, but to be sitting 3 hours in front of a Zoom, it's completely different. First of all, we have people right in front of us. We're looking at it. We have a counselor that goes on and off of the screen. We have counselor that sometimes put their beautiful picture and some picture to replace them. I mean, it's very hard, like, because we try to concentrate and everybody's right popping in our face. We know that we're dealing with a lot of controversial issue. It takes longer. Our meeting takes longer. Most of the time we have to go beyond the hours, and I mean, we're tired. We agree more, obviously. We're not just human like anybody else out there. When we're tired, we don't react the same way. I really feel that there's a lot of information, and a prime example tonight that we had to put the next meeting was the report that we have as information. I understand staff doing that because it could have taken 25, 30 minutes just for that item to ask question. And then I've been hearing a lot lately about operation. I do understand the difference. I'm not putting my nose into operation. And I understand that very, very clearly, but operation is done based on council approval. It's done with the money of all residents. And I think that when there's a project that is done, I don't have any attention to asking if the tire is big enough to do the job or how many people, but I certainly would like to have updates sometime. And we don't have time during the regular meeting. And also I would like to, I know the role of staff, what they do when they have money approved to do a project. I understand perfectly operation, but as a taxpayer and representing the taxpayer of West Nipissing, I do have the right to request update and ask questions specifically related to that project when the financial question, because we are financially responsible. So and I have other reason, which I won't mention, which I don't think it should be discussed here. So I would like to see it. Not really that I would really want to see it, because it's nice, obviously, to have just 2 meetings a month. But I think it's increasing more our stress level to have 2 meetings a month of 3 meetings a month. And I think we have discussed at that time also that if we don't have time, we will do once in a while a meeting, extra meeting. But lately, when we want to do a special meeting, we don't have the quorum. So that's my case. I'm not here to put anybody down. I'm saying my thought, and obviously just go around and see if you agree or you don't agree. I have to be brought it back to the table for discussion because it's been a year. I brought it in November. I was certain it was November 3rd, but when I look after that, I went back. It was November 17th. So that's why it was brought to this meeting. And I agree completely, because it had to be a year without being discussed. So probably next year, if it doesn't pass tonight, I'll bring it back. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lise. I'll pass it on to Councillor Yvon.
Thank you, Madame Meres. Well, it's obvious the changes that we've made certainly had an impact on the length of the meetings we've had. We couldn't discuss or ask questions to whatever we wanted to, due to the fact that there was a time limit. And it's unfortunate, and I have to agree with Lise, it is nice to 2 meetings per month, but we are not able to complete what we wanted to complete, and it's having an impact on our decision making. And I'm not going to repeat what Lise says. We all know that we've had to pass motions to increase the amount of time required for the meeting, and I too don't like to sit in front of a TV screen for 3 hours or plus. So it's something that we should look at and maybe reinstate to 3. It's just something that I think it'd be to our benefit. So I would adopt a 3 meeting per month. And that's my general feeling, Madame Meres. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yvon. Councillor Chris?
So I like the format. Obviously, I put it in. It's as much about staff and giving them a break in the middle as it is about council. This is not universally popular, but I think it's working. And don't forget, I did also at the same time mandate the break at 8 o'clock, and everybody likes that. So I'm keeping it 2, and that's my position. Thanks.
Councillor Brody?
I totally agree with Councillor Chris. I think 2 is working fine. The staff are doing a great job, so I let's keep it the way it is. Thank you.
Councillor Leo?
Yes, keep it at 2. Thank you.
Councillor Dan?
Yes, keep it to 2. And the thing is, it's up to us to clean up our act. If we can't do it within the time period, it's because we're not managing the meetings properly. So let's just clean up our act and leave it at 2.
Conseiller Denis?
Well, I have to disagree with that. It's the items that we have to deal with, and we have a right to discuss every item that's on the agenda, and we should have sufficient time to discuss the items that are on the agenda. Obviously, we don't have enough time. We're going through 10:30, sometimes even later. It's ridiculous. After 9:30, we're all done, and it doesn't work. So I suggest we go back to 3 meetings, and even staff, they have to stay here till at the office till 10:30, and then they have to go back to work, and it's hard on them too. So it would be preferable to have 3 meetings. And like it was said that if we have extra meetings, well, we don't have quorum, so that's the way it is. So I'm for 3 meetings.
Conseiller Lise?
Okay, well, just a little bit mandated the break, Councillor Fisher. I had a break 12 years ago. You did take a break. If it was not asked, well, obviously it was not done, but it was mandated a long time ago that we had break 3 hours, and we went beyond the hours. And as far as managing the meeting, I said it before, it's not easy to manage a meeting. I think it's getting a lot better lately. I think people are more human when it comes to taking waiting for their turn and not interrupting people and blah, blah, blah. But it's not a fact of managing. I think it's a fact of having too much information. And we were told also that it will help us to get more time to get through the information, but nothing changed for the councillor because we're getting in at the same time that we used when we had 3 meetings a month, which is Friday between 4 and 5 o'clock that we're getting the material. I can understand it's a break for the staff. I can understand that, but also the staff, it's not fun to stay a half day from morning to 10:30 at night and hear us. And I think we have to smarten up a little bit, like Councillor Dan had said, but I think it's a little bit of everybody. And if everybody would do the same thing and act properly with respect toward the other one, it would be a lot better. So obviously I'm for it. And obviously I'll bring it back another year, which will be December 1st next year. I'll bring back a motion to put on the table and a request. And if it's not working, a motion. So I still have another year to try with my my request. So thank you very much. And Madam Mayor.
Okay, well, thank you for everyone's feedback. I would have supported the issue. At the end of the day, you know, there's been attempts to deal with important matters that cannot wait till the next meeting, and those meetings are not occurring. I remember when we had the presentation that was done to council, it was, everyone was vivid saying, you know, if there's a need, there's an opportunity for special meetings. Well, those special meetings have not been occurring because we don't have quorum, and that logs or there's a log that's created with our agendas with different issues that require different levels of time and discussion. And it makes it challenging not just for us, but also for staff. So it's unfortunate, and hopefully, like one has said, let's clean up our act. And if there's something sensitive that is important that needs to be dealt with prior to a next meeting, well, hopefully we'll have quorum to be able to deal with it, because that does happen. It's not abused, but it does happen. So we're going to move on to the next item, and it's new business.
Madam Chair, or Madam Mayor, I think you have to take it to a vote. There was a resolution. Madam Mayor, you have to ask all in favor.
Okay. Well, there's not a resolution though. There was a motion, but the motion is defeated.
Well, isn't it in the form of a resolution, Melanie, when you have a motion?
Okay.
It is.
It's treated like a resolution, Your Worship.
Well, thank you for highlighting the procedure, Jay. So based on what I heard, there was 4 people in favor and 4 against, so the resolution would be defeated.
You still have to call it, you say all in favor. You can have a debate, but then you call it to a
Thank
vote
you,
after the
Jay.
discussion.
Who is
Well,
in
you know,
fa-
you just want to
No,
get.
no, thank you. Clear. So who is
Madam
in?
Mayor?
fa- Yes, Councillor
Madam Mayor?
Denis?
I
Yes,
request a registered vote.
a recorded vote? Okay,
Yes.
so I'll pass it on to the clerk so she can read the resolution and request the recorded vote by each member.
Do you want me to reread the resolution or just record the vote?
No, I think just record the vote in fairness, unless someone would want the resolution to be reread. We all have a copy.
Councillor Duhaime,
Yes.
Councillor Fisher,
No.
Councillor Larrabee,
No.
Councillor Malette,
No?
Councillor Ravita,
Nope.
Councillor Denis Senecal,
Yes,
Councillor Lee Senecal,
Yes.
Madam Mayor Savage,
Yes,
4-4.
thank you, Mel. So the motion is defeated. On procède avec affaires nouvelles, new business. We got some information pertaining to loan and agreement. Is Alyssa still around, or who is, okay, there. Alyssa, do you want to talk to that subject matter?
Sure, yeah. So this is actually, it was probably about a year ago that we had initially applied for financing through Infrastructure Ontario for financing the OPP facility build. And then sort of early summer, council awarded the contract for that build. But the build was a higher contract value than we had originally anticipated when we started this whole process long ago. So I went back and forth with Infrastructure Ontario for a little while on whether we were just going to amend our existing agreement that we had with them, or whether we were sort of starting from scratch all over again. So they wanted us to start the paperwork all over again for the increased amount, to reflect the increased amount for the contract that was awarded for the OPP facility build. And like we talked back in in the spring or early summer when we were awarding that contract, is that the amounts are still split, provincial and municipal. It still keeps us within the timelines as far as when our payback period is, and it doesn't change sort of the financial projections on the project. So this is just, it's not new money, it's just a revision for the loan agreement and loan application that we had with Infrastructure Ontario a year ago.
Okay, so I'll do a round table to see if there's any questions. Councillor Yvon?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Chris?
No, I have no questions. I can just make a quick comment that the building is coming along quite nicely. As last time I checked, everything's on schedule. Inspector Mabel said that he had to walk through the building a week or so ago, and it's very impressive. It's going to be great when it's done. And I think later this spring, probably when it's covered, and we're going to arrange for the police board and members of council to have a walkthrough too. So yes, this is all standard stuff that we're expecting, and I agree to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rowley?
I do agree. It's looking really, really good. So I agree with it. I agree with Chris.
Councillor Leo?
No question, thank you.
Councillor Denis, Councillor Dan?
No, I have no comments. Thank you.
Councillor Denis?
no comment.
Councillor Elise?
Oh my God, I do have a few questions. Okay, its explanation is clear. I understand why it happened, because that was one of my questions that we had done it before. So, but I mean, it's quite not the same. There's 1.5 million more than it was projected. It was 8 million, and now it's 9.5 million. And also, he said estimated. So there is a possibility. We never know what's going to happen till the end, because I don't think even half. I think they're good, doing very good. It's going to be beautiful. I agree with that. So there's a possibility you might come back. So I do, it's for 30 years. So, and I don't need to have those things but at budget time, I would like to see, it's a 30-year project. I don't know, you say that, c'est 30 ans, un amortissement de 30 ans for the payment. So I would like, I know what I'm paying for my small mortgage for 25 years. So I would like to know how much the payment would be. And also, will it be put in the bill or it's going to be completely separate? And I think I know the answer, but I just, Alicia, like, is it going to be under loans or is it going to be under, because I think people have the right to know how much exactly what it's costing for the next time till we pay that. And I do have question also, but it's probably on the lease part, because right now I know they're paying to host the Sudbury East, and that's their portion, but it's the lease. We didn't discuss the lease, so it's probably, I don't know, might be discussed at the lease. But if they're paying that, their contribution to the lease, does it mean that we're going to be paying overhead for the building till everything is paid for? That both their portion of 48% and our portion, because overhead could be quite expensive. So they said the portion was from the lease portion to host Sudbury East. That's the way I understand in the last page. Wow. So that's why I'm asking explanation on the last page, because this is what I understood.
So I'm going to sort of start at the beginning and hope I get all your questions, Councillor Senecal. So yes, at budget time, when you see the the policing budget, you'll see a line for contractors, and that's the amount that our contract with the OPP is. And then you're going to see a lot of other things in the budget as well that include the financing on this building, the operating costs of the building, all of that is part of the cost to offer policing. So it's not going to be rolled in one line. It will be on that same budget, and you'll see the different parts with that. This is not the lease. The lease is still sort of in, kind of on the table, because we don't have final build numbers and things like that. So the lease is just sort of on pause as we get sort of through the closer to the end of the build on this. And then, yes, of this amount, the portion that is kind of attributed to I'm going to call it the provincial policing, but it is that Sudbury East. It's not the West Nipissing. The amount that's allocated both in the financing cost and in the operating cost is recovered from the province. So we're only carrying of this, the debt, the loan that's going out. The only part that we're carrying, that we're going to be responsible for from the taxpayer, is the 52%, the West Nipissing part of it. The other part is built into our lease and recovered through our lease.
Okay, even the portion for West Nipissing services, OPP West Nipissing, because
no. The provincial part is recovered through the lease. The part that's for West Nipissing is on the West Nipissing police budget.
Okay, so the new building obviously will change because it's bigger than the zone, so that will be a small change there too. Just that portion, not for the East Sudbury East. Okay, I understand what you're saying, Alicia, and yeah, we'll have more discussion on it, I'm sure, at budget time. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, I just want to make sure I understand. So we're going for a lease. Well, we're going for 2 loans for a total of $9.5 million. What if something happens where the work ends up to be, I don't know, $11 million? Is it going to come back to council?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Before we get there, it'll come back to council. Yeah. Right now, the build, as you know, it not only looks good, but it's actually going very well as far as controls of budget, both between our staff, the contractor, and the consultant. There's very good control of budget. So, yeah, absolutely. If anything, disasters happen, we would certainly come back to council.
Okay. And probably going to have, well, we'll find out. Hopefully it's not going to happen at all. But then, okay, so the province, for their 48%, they've got 15 years to pay back that $4.5 million that we're making a loan for them, right? And we're going to recover that money through the lease agreement, which will come in the future.
That's correct.
Okay, and the municipality will then, we're going to be paying the $4.5 million within a projected 30 years.
Yes.
And is that part of the policing budget or separate from the policing budget?
That is part of the policing budget.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find out. So do we need a resolution to be able to authorize the treasurer and the mayor to sign the loan agreements with Ontario Infrastructure for the two loans, the one for the municipality and the one for the provincial portion?
We do.
We do?
Can I get a mover and a seconder, please?
Leo?
Dan? It is moved by Councillor Leo Mallette and seconded by Councillor Ravita. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2020-70 being a bylaw to authorize the submission of an application to Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation, OLIC, for financing such capital works, to authorize temporary borrowing from OLIC to meet expenditures in connection with such works, and to authorize long-term borrowing through the issuance of debentures shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Any objections? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we do need to proceed in closed session at réunion à huis clos. So before proceeding, I just want to say a big congratulations to the West Nipissing Fire Department, all the businesses and everyone that contributed a pledge for the West Nipissing Santa Fund. Bravo à toute l'équipe, à tous ceux et celles qui étaient impliqués. Le montant total excédait 35 000 qui étaient prélevés. They were successful in fundraising in excess of $35,000 for needy families. Now, this upcoming Friday on December 4th, there's a radiothon for the West Nipissing Food Bank, which will start at 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 p.m. Donc, c'est une tradition, le radiothon pour la Banque alimentaire de Nipissing-Ouest qui se déroule le 4 décembre entre les heures de 6 heures à 18 heures ce vendredi, et ainsi pour un grand besoin dans notre communauté where we want to make sure that no one goes without food and that everyone has this, it's not a luxury, but a need. And on that note, I also want to congratulate all the great people of West Nipissing for lighting up their homes, lighting up their businesses, lighting up our streets. I have to admit, and I think everyone is saying the same thing, Christmas is going to be different this year. 2020 has been a different year. C'était une année extraordinaire avec la situation de la pandémie. And also want to share the message that we're not out of the woods. There's positive cases that are surfacing in our surroundings of our communities and other districts. We are in a zone which is categorized as green. We want to keep it that way, but it does impede and has an impact on our traditional ways of celebrating Christmas. It's going to be different, but I think for the well-being of our loved ones, of our friends and our communities, should be the utmost priority. Donc, sur cette note, on procède à huis clos. We proceed in closed session.
May I have a mover and a seconder for the resolution to proceed into closed session?
I can.
Conseillère Lise, Conseiller Léo.
It is moved by Councillor Lise Senecal and seconded by Councillor Mallette. Be it resolved that we proceed into closed meeting as authorized in Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss the following: a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board concerning Villeneuve Court.
All in favor?
Question?
All in favor for the resolution? Carried, adopted. Okay, so we proceed with Villeneuve Court. So who's going to provide a summary?
Madam Mayor, I need to stop the live stream and the recording. You just